All right, hopefully you've had some time to look at example 3, activity 3 on page 165, and look at the picture in the book to get some of the details. You can see from the book that on the left-hand side there are 5 bottles and 1 gram weight. And on the right-hand side, there's 2 bottles. And 7 1 gram weights. And you are told to write an equation for this and also to solve the problem. Now there's 2 ways to solve the problem. One is to do this visually, where we think about taking things off of each side. Now I have both bottles on both sides and squares, grams on both sides. So I'm going to start off by taking off 2 bottles. And to keep it balanced, I'm going to take 2 bottles off of this side too. Then I also need to take off gram weights. So I'm going to take this 1 gram weight off and take one of these weights off over here. So let's take a look at what we have left. Left over are 3 bottles on this side. And that balances or weighs the same as, and on this side we have 6 of the 1 gram weights. Well, if 3 bottles weighs 6 grams, then 1 bottle is equal to 2 grams. So there's one way to reach a conclusion. Now somebody else might have done this completely differently. Let's clear this. By taking a look at it and writing an equation. So there were 5 bottles, and we don't know how much they weigh, so you need a letter for that. You can use a B here, or a W, or an X. Let's use a B this time. 5 times B. So B represents the weight of a bottle. So on the left side there were 5 bottles and a 1 gram weight. So we have to add that 1 also. Again, I don't add a G because with the variable B that could get confusing, which one's a variable and which one's a unit. So on the other side there's 2 bottles, so there's 2 times each weight and 7 1 gram weights. Now the idea was to try and get this equation with B all by itself. And the first thing that we did with the visual model was to subtract or take away 2 bottles from each side. So I'm going to do the same thing with algebra. Remember that it's better to do this horizontally. So we subtracted 2B. And what that does is it gets rid of the variable B on that side of the equation. Combining like terms, we have 5B minus 2B is 3B plus 1 equals, those went to 0, 7. So the next thing is still to try and get B by itself, and we subtracted that 1 gram weight from both sides. And we can do the same thing with algebra. So 3b plus 1 minus 1 is just 3b. And 7 minus 1 is just 6. Now this is a problem we can do in our head, but if I want to show my work, if this were a harder problem, my next step would be to try and get b by itself, so I would divide by the coefficient of b, divide by that 3, and whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. And our final answer then is b is equal to 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now let's check our answer, which we didn't do on the first slide. We're going to use b equals 2 into the original expression. And I hope that's equal to but at this point I don't know yet, so I'm going to put a little question mark up there. Now you can use your calculator or with some easy arithmetic. This is 10 plus 1 is 11. This is 4 plus 7 is 11. And both sides check. This was a little different. Before we only had one side to check and there was already a single number on the other side. Now you're going to have variables on both sides to look at. And so substitution will have to be done on both sides. So let's list our steps now because we've added an extra step. So if there's variables on both sides, the first thing you're going to want to do is add or subtract to move all the variables to one side. Technically, it's all the terms with the variables to one side. The second step we did was to move that extra term, that plus 1, to the other side. So again, you'll be adding or subtracting. I'm going to use that idea of isolate. So isolate the term with the variable. Basically get rid of that other constant term. And then the third step, when we just have an expression like 3b left over, is to multiply or divide, usually divide. To isolate the variable itself. Hit the variable by itself. At that point, you should have an expression that says x equal or b equal, and you have your answer. There is one last step, and that's check your answer. All right, it's time to go.